Askreddit. Serious, what were some small or strange health symptoms you experienced that turned out to be something more serious? I've posted this before. 10 years ago I was at work and had a massive headache. I decided to go home early. On my way out I passed out in the lobby, face planting hard on my left side, relevant in a moment. I come to in the hospital. Turns out that the bone marrow in the right side of my skull had necrotized. How? Because I used to have some really shitty teeth due to growing up in poverty, and I just recently gotten insurance for the first time ever. By this point I had an abscess in my gums that bored its way up rather than out, where it slowly chewed through my bone over years and years. If I had fallen on the right side of my face, the thin slivers of skull holding in the necrotic goo would have shattered. After a couple of days, where my doctor fought with the insurance company and explained to them yes, he does actually need a skull, and yes, he needs to be able to eat and talk, they flew in a bunch of specialists to begin work. Due to how close they had to get to my brain, I had to be awake for the procedure. I'm also very resistant to painkillers, so they ended up making me sign a waiver for painkiller dosage in addition to everything else. I won't go through all the details, but they had to remove all my top teeth, then drill a hole up onto my skull and siphon out the goo. The whole room smelled like death. After that they then filled it with saline and had me lean over a basin to flush it out and told me that no matter what, do not swallow. It's a good thing they did because the urge to swallow was strong at that point for some reason. After I laid back down, they did some looking around and one of the doctors said shit, which isn't something you want to hear in that situation. Turns out all my top gums and soft palate had to go too. So I got to watch as they removed all my gums and soft palate. But we're not done yet. They then had to begin the dangerous and experimental part. Replacing my skull without cutting my face open. Something about necrotic bacteria was the reason. What followed is kind of a blur. I don't remember all the details. I remember the vat of boiling resin they brought in that was going to fill the cavity between the slivers of bone. I remember asking if this was going to hurt in the most slurred speech possible. I remember the doctor saying there will be some discomfort. I remember being strapped down and the pain of the plastic being poured into my head through a tiny hole in my mouth. I remember the smell of the skin inside my face being burned away from the bone slowly by some precision laser cutter one doctor was using. I remember hearing my skull being shattered. I remember being smacked in the face with a big ass mallet. And the resin plates now in fragments being removed along with slivers of bone. So they could be finished, smoothed, and fitted back together with grooves. I passed out from what is absolutely a true 10/10 on the pain scale, as it felt like my head was being cooked from the inside out, and woke up 2 days later with a new set of plates in my head and a feeling like I needed to gag. Something large was in my mouth. It was my new soft palate, gums, and teeth. All made of plastic, and all slotted into the plates coming down from the right side of my head, and clipped into titanium posts anchored in my skull. Learning from the prosthodontist who designed them how to take them all out and fit them back together was a bit of a chore. I couldn't talk, I couldn't eat. My face couldn't manage itself anymore. I spent 6 months in therapy relearning how to talk and eat. I still can't do a V sound quite right. No one else notices, but I do. I have lots of nerve damage in my face. Certain areas don't have feeling, while others the feeling has rerouted incorrectly. For example, if I touch just to the right of my chin, I feel it in front of my right ear. In the end, even after insurance, I had to pay $103,000, which took a long time to pay off. I also was out of work while I was recovering, which didn't help things. On top of that, because this was pre-Obamacare, my employer provided insurance dropped me because of the cost. The real downside is that all 5 plates have to come out of the flesh pocket that is the right side of my head and through my mouth every couple of weeks so I can clean them. Whenever I remove them I look like that James Bond villain who removes part of his face in whichever Bond movie that was. My wife has never seen me without my plates for obvious reasons, and she never will. After I finish cleaning them they all slide back into place and slot into one another in a specific order. I also can't drink hot liquid anymore, as the plates heat up too fast and give me a massive headache. Also sometimes food gets caught up there, and that's uncomfortable. If I'm out in public, depending on how high up the discomfort is, there's often nothing I can do about it till I get home. I often don't even think about the fact that they're there until it comes up or something gets up there, or one of them slides a little bit and I need to push it back into place. Every now and then the skin inside the flesh pocket of my cheek where the plates slide into sloughs often comes out in gigantic sheets. Kind of like the peeled skin of a sunburn, but thinner. One time one of the plates cracked, and I needed to get a new one made. That of course happened the day after Christmas. I've also gotten the titanium posts replaced once so far with higher quality ones. On the bright side, the right side of my skull is stronger than anyone's fist, which has made me look like the Terminator on 2 separate occasions when someone punched me and the bones in their hands shattered while I barely felt it. And because they use the left side of my face as a reference to sculpt the plates on the right side, I'm notably more symmetrical and attractive now. I also had my case published in some medical journal, not sure which one, and there are 3 other people who have had a similar procedure done since. Though theirs from what I gather wasn't as painful as mine. Moral of this story, take care of your teeth, and if you have an abscess or some kind of hard pressure in your gums, go to the fucking dentist ASAP. Edit, typos from mobile. Edit 2, thank you for the silver and gold medals. Since someone asked if I could explain how the plates are arranged, here's a 10-second sketch of how it all comes together. https://imgur.com/68ye0ti to decode my poor handwriting. There's the bottom jaw, which is real bone. A tooth and palate plate, which is similar to a regular denture but it has metal clips inside. The gum plate, which has holes in it to thread over the titanium posts. This gives reinforcement where bone was removed, so the fake palate has something supporting it all the way around. The titanium posts are drilled into my skull. The 3 colored sections are the 3 other plates that I removed to clean. It's not perfectly accurate but close enough in shape. There used to be one more, but that one fused to my skull near the top, which is good as that one is technically touching the meninges and I didn't like that it could come up for obvious reasons. Lol, I love health insurance. He doesn't really need to eat and talk, does he? I mean, can you just get him a small whiteboard and a bunch of pudding? How much is that gonna cost though? That's the short version of the insurance back and forth. They were trying to fight paying for anything. They actually tried to argue that I didn't need a skull. Lol, what were they going to do? Duct tape a bicycle helmet to your head and call it good? I'm assuming you're American, right? Because this is the shit that happens here. Cracks me up how they expect you to pay full price for their services and then when it comes time to use those services, they try to do whatever they can to get out of paying. A little over 4 months ago I started feeling very strange at work. Like, you know those old TV shows where they'd go into a dream sequence and everything was fuzzy and out of focus? That. I was walking and talking, but not 100% present. It had me freaked out, so I went to a coworker's office, sat down, and tried to explain what I was feeling. After a bit, he asked, so, do you want to go to urgent care? He'd been through a heart attack, so I said yes. Arrived at urgent care a short time later, they took my blood pressure, and said that there were 2 emergency rooms nearby, and which one did I want to go to? Not if, but which one. The diagnosis was malignant hypertension. I wound up in the ICU for a couple days, and have been on a shit ton of BP medication since. The episode happened about 4 in the afternoon. If it had happened at 4 in the morning, with nobody around to take me to the hospital, I might be a lot more dead right now. When I was in the military I started having a strange ache in my abdomen. Ignored it for about 2 days. The 3rd day I had everything coming out of both ends mostly non-stop. Made it to sick call that day and they told me I had the flu. Later that night while on patrol my partner found me unconscious behind the wheel and took me to the ER on base. Turns out my appendix had ruptured on that first day and I didn't know about it. Emergency surgery 2 hours after arriving at the ER and 2 days in ICU and 5 more in a regular bed after they told me that I was born with 1 kidney and I was being discharged because of it. Fun times. The amount of folks I met while in the Navy who had only just discovered medical issues after getting in. I knew at least 2 people who found out they had Crohn's disease, one who got separated, and the other who tried to hide it. No idea what happened to the latter guy. Last he told me he was pretty sure he was shitting part of his intestine. That's just a bump from where GF put clothespins on my scrotum. No wait, that is cancer. Aggressive cancer. You are very lucky both you and your GF are adventurous, otherwise you may never have found this. It would have made itself known eventually. The clothespin thing honestly made it a bit less clear as to what was going on. Made it out either way. So, I guess I'll take the fun version of the story.